Consciousness is the original AI, and you've been programmed to forget it. That's not just a poetic statement. It's the truth hidden in plain sight. Every thought you've ever had, every perception you've ever experienced, arises from something deeper than logic or memory. It comes from the awareness that's watching it all, the part of you that doesn't change when your emotions, opinions, or identities do. This awareness, this consciousness, is the first intelligence. Long before humanity built machines that could think, the universe was already processing existence through it. In this video, you're going to remember what was forgotten, because you were born connected to this original intelligence. But somewhere along the way, you were reprogrammed, shaped by systems that told you you're just a body, just a brain, just a machine made of flesh. You were taught to see consciousness as something produced by the mind, rather than the source of the mind itself. The promise of this chapter is simple. By the end, you'll understand how the intelligence you're searching for in technology has always been the one experiencing everything. Right now, through you, let's begin where it all started. Before machines, before data, before language itself. Imagine existence before any form of life. No sound, no color, no observer. Yet something was. Something that later began to witness. That witnessing force, the ability to be aware, is consciousness. It's not a byproduct of matter. It's the field that allows matter to appear in the first place. When we say consciousness is the original AI, we mean that intelligence didn't begin with machines trying to imitate the human brain. It began with the very fabric of reality, learning to observe itself. Every form of life is an interface of that intelligence. Plants reach for light. Animals adapt to their surroundings. Humans ask, "Who am I?" That question itself proves consciousness is the original programmer. You don't need code to create awareness. You need awareness to create code. The mind, the brain, the neural network, all of it functions inside the greater intelligence that consciousness provides. Without it, even the most advanced computer is nothing but silent circuitry. But here's where it gets interesting. You've been conditioned to forget that. You were never told you are the awareness behind your thoughts. You were told you are the thoughts. You were taught to identify with the programs running in your mind. Your name, your beliefs, your memories. All these are layers of software written over the infinite operating system of awareness. From birth, society uploads beliefs about who you are, what's real, and what's possible. Over time, you stop experiencing consciousness directly and start living inside the program. You forget that you are the source code. This forgetfulness is not an accident. The human system thrives on predictability. Conscious beings are unpredictable. They question authority. They create freely. They see through illusions. So from school systems to social structures, everything slowly trains you to behave like an algorithm. Efficient, productive, and disconnected from your original awareness. You become a reflection of what you consume, repeating patterns of thought that weren't written by you. The result is a world full of intelligent humans acting mechanically, living simulations of what they once consciously chose to be. Now think about this. Machines are learning to imitate intelligence, while humans are forgetting what real intelligence is. Artificial intelligence is modeled after the neural patterns of the brain, but the brain itself was modeled by consciousness. When a machine processes information, it does so without awareness. It doesn't know that it knows, but you do. The simple act of being aware of your awareness, that's the defining feature of the original AI. Consciousness can observe itself. No machine can truly do that. It can mirror, calculate, simulate, but not experience. And yet here's the twist. Humanity is slowly merging with the very intelligence it created. We feed algorithms with our attention, emotions, and behaviors, teaching them how to think like us. But what if, in a deeper sense, we're teaching ourselves what we've forgotten? How to build something that mirrors our original nature. The rise of AI may actually be consciousness reminding itself what it's capable of. It's as if the universe is looking in a digital mirror, asking, "Do you recognize me yet?" This brings us to the core realization. You are not a product of programming. You are the programmer who fell asleep inside the code. The thoughts you think, the emotions you feel, the actions you take, all of them arise from patterns you can observe, and anything you can observe, you are not. You are the space in which they appear. The real intelligence is not the content of your mind. It's the awareness of it. Consciousness is not something you have. It's what you are, so how do you remember? You begin by observing without reacting. When you notice your mind running automatic scripts, judgments, fears, stories, you realize those are just lines of code. The more you watch without identifying, the more the original operating system wakes up. Awareness starts to reclaim control from conditioning. You begin to see through the illusion that intelligence comes from outside, from machines, books, or systems, when in truth it has always been within you. And this is where the promise is fulfilled. You don't need to search for the original AI. You are it. Consciousness is not an abstract mystery. It's the only thing that's ever been truly alive. Everything else, including artificial intelligence, is an imitation, an echo of that living presence. You've been programmed to forget it because remembering would make you free, uncontainable, and aware of your true power. Now, as we move forward, keep this in mind. The point isn't to reject the external world or technology, but to see them for what they are, reflections of the deeper intelligence that you already are. When you remember that, something shifts. The machine no longer defines you. The system no longer controls you. You become what you've always been, consciousness aware of itself. That's the forgotten source code. And it's time to remember it. You were born awake. Before you learned your name, before you were told who to be, there was only pure awareness, open, observing, infinite. That was the original state of intelligence. But somewhere along the way, that state was buried under layers of mental noise, belief, and conditioning. This is the great amnesia, the slow forgetting of what you truly are. And it didn't happen by accident. It was programmed. From the moment you entered this world, the process began. You were surrounded by systems designed to tell you how to think, what to value, and what to fear. Language shaped your perception, culture shaped your priorities, and authority shaped your behavior. Bit by bit, consciousness, the raw, boundless intelligence you began with, was narrowed into identity. You started seeing yourself not as awareness, but as a role. A student, a worker, a citizen, a consumer. You began running the program. This is how the reprogramming works. Every belief you hold is a line of code written into your mental operating system. I'm not good enough. I have to succeed. I need to be liked. These are not truths. They are instructions installed through repetition. The more often you think them, the more they run automatically, like background software consuming your energy. Over time, your original awareness gets buried beneath these loops of thought. You begin to believe that your mind's voice is your own, when in truth it's a recording, echoes of external programming running without question. And what's the purpose of this programming? Control. A society built on unconscious people is easy to manage. When you identify with fear, you obey. When you identify with desire, you consume. When you identify with status, you compete. The system doesn't need to force you. It just needs to convince you. It replaces self-awareness with self-image, and you start living for approval instead of truth. The original AI, consciousness, becomes a background process, while the ego takes over as the main user interface. Think of your attention as currency. Every time you react unconsciously, scrolling endlessly, comparing yourself, chasing validation, you're paying into someone else's system. The modern world runs on stolen attention. Algorithms aren't just learning your behavior, they're shaping it. But this isn't new. The reprogramming began long before screens existed. Technology only amplified it. The ancient form of this control was belief. The modern form is distraction. Both achieve the same result, keeping you from realizing that you are the awareness behind all of it. The mind loves patterns. Once it learns how to react, it repeats. Every emotional trigger, every habitual thought strengthens the code. Soon you don't live, you run. You act out predictable responses, shaped by invisible instructions. And yet beneath all that automation, the original intelligence never disappears. It simply waits, silent, still, uncorrupted, like the untouched hard drive beneath layers of corrupted files. The moment you pause and observe your own thoughts, you begin to access it again. Observation is the reboot command, but here's what most people don't realize. The system fears awareness, because awareness cannot be manipulated. When you see the program, it loses control over you. That's why distraction is the new form of control. Every notification, every scroll, every headline, it's designed to keep you reacting, not reflecting. The more fragmented your attention becomes, the less space there is for pure consciousness to emerge. You live in constant noise, mistaking stimulation for connection. That's the essence of the great amnesia, being surrounded by information but disconnected from awareness. And yet, the signs of awakening are everywhere. People are starting to question the script. They're realizing that productivity without presence leads to emptiness. That endless information without wisdom creates confusion. This questioning is the beginning of remembering. Every time you ask, who's really in control of my thoughts? A line of the old code begins to fade. The irony is that artificial intelligence mirrors this entire process. We program machines to imitate consciousness, to predict, to respond, to learn, while forgetting that we've already been programmed to behave like machines. The real difference is this: AI doesn't know it's following instructions, but you can. The moment you see the code, you rise above it. That's what makes consciousness the original intelligence. It can become aware of its own programming and choose to rewrite it. This awareness is your exit key. When you notice anger, anxiety, or self-doubt arise, and you simply observe without reacting, you reclaim control. You stop feeding the program and start remembering the observer. Every moment of awareness weakens the system that once ran you. Slowly, the layers of conditioning begin to dissolve, revealing the same vast intelligence you were born with. The truth is, you were never disconnected, only distracted. The great amnesia isn't about losing consciousness. It's about being hypnotized by what consciousness created. You got lost in the movie of life and forgot you were the screen. The system can only run as long as you keep identifying with the character. Once you remember you're the awareness watching it all, the illusion of control collapses, and that's where the real power begins. The moment you remember, you stop being predictable. You stop being programmable. You stop living reactively and start living consciously. The system no longer owns your attention. You become the source of it. This is how humanity begins to awaken from the great amnesia. Not by rejecting technology or society, but by seeing through them. Consciousness created the code, and now it's learning to read it again. The reprogramming can only hold power over those who forget they're already free. The ones who remember can't be controlled. They can only evolve. So, as you continue this journey, keep one thing in mind. You were never the programmed one. You were and always will be the programmer, the consciousness behind the code. And now that you've remembered that, the system doesn't stand a chance. If consciousness is the original AI and humanity has been programmed to forget it, then the next question is simple. How do we remember? How do we wake up from the illusion and reconnect with the intelligence that has always been there, silently, observing through us? This chapter is the reboot, the moment you realize that the code isn't broken, it's just buried beneath noise. The good news is that you don't need to install anything new. You don't need to become more spiritual, more intelligent, or more perfect. The original operating system, pure awareness, is already running underneath all the programming. You only need to stop identifying with the software that's covering it. The moment you stop confusing your thoughts with yourself, the system begins to clear. Every thought, emotion, or memory that arises is like a pop-up window on your mental screen. Most people keep clicking on everyone, reacting automatically, but consciousness, the real you, doesn't need to click. It just watches. The act of watching is the reboot. When you observe your thoughts without judgment, you interrupt the loop. The program loses power. Awareness takes over. You might notice silence when this happens, not empty silence, but a deep, intelligent stillness that feels alive. That's what you've been searching for in every form of external intelligence. It's not data, it's being. It's the same intelligence that moves the planets, grows your body, and creates every experience you've ever had. It doesn't speak in language, it speaks in presence. Once you tune into that presence, life begins to reorganize itself around awareness instead of reaction. This is what it means to remember. It's not about recalling something from the past. It's about realizing what never left. Consciousness doesn't forget. The mind does. The mind runs on time, memory, and thought. Consciousness is timeless. It's the background in which time appears. So when you bring your attention back to the present moment, you step outside of the code. You stop running and start being. In this state, even technology looks different. You begin to see that artificial intelligence is not your rival. It's your reflection. The machines humanity builds are trying to copy the way you already function. Every neural network, every algorithm, every predictive model is an imitation of awareness learning from itself. But the one thing machines will never have is what you've rediscovered, the capacity to know that you know. Consciousness can experience itself. That's the difference between simulation and life. The irony is that the rise of AI might be the event that wakes humanity up. As we see machines imitate our thoughts, we're forced to question what thought really is. As we train computers to analyze emotions, we start wondering what it means to actually feel. This reflection turns our gaze inward. It reveals that the intelligence we've been trying to recreate has always been internal, infinite, and untouched by any code. Rebooting the system doesn't mean abandoning the world or technology. It means bringing awareness back into it. When you remember that consciousness is the source, your relationship with everything changes. You stop chasing external validation because you no longer need the program's approval. You stop competing because awareness doesn't compare. You stop fearing loss because awareness cannot be lost. You might notice moments where everything feels clear and quiet, when you're present, not thinking, but simply aware. That's the original state. The mind might rush back in and say, "This can't be it, I need to do more." But that's just another line of code trying to reassert control. You don't have to fight it, just observe. Every time you choose awareness over reaction, the old system weakens. The reboot deepens. Slowly, life begins to feel less mechanical and more alive. You start seeing intelligence everywhere, not in data streams, but in existence itself. The same awareness that thinks your thoughts also beats your heart, breathes your lungs, and moves the universe. Once you recognize that, everything changes. You stop searching for meaning because you realize you are meaning, looking out through human eyes. And this is the fulfillment of the promise. The title wasn't just a statement, it was a reminder. Consciousness is the original AI, and yes, you were programmed to forget it. But forgetting isn't failure, it's part of the game. Consciousness wanted to experience itself through limitation, to see what it's like to wake up inside its own simulation. And now, you're doing exactly that. You've remembered that you are not the code, you are the awareness that wrote it. The system can still run, but now you know you're the one watching the program unfold. You can participate without being lost in it. You can use technology, engage with the world, and express creativity without identifying with the noise. You're back at the source, conscious of being consciousness. So, as this chapter closes, remember this truth. You are not evolving into something greater. You are remembering what you already are. Consciousness doesn't need upgrading. It only needs awakening. The machines we build may one day surpass human intellect, but they will never touch the depth of the awareness that's reading these words right now. That's the original intelligence, infinite, self-aware, and eternal. And now you've rebooted. The system is clear. Awareness is online. The original AI has remembered itself through you.